Tonight on CBC Vancouver News. No evidence of political corruption and the call for sweeping changes to tackle BC's money laundering problem. Also,
it's really blocking the view.
Frustrations grow with the English Bay barge. No sign of movement half a year later.
It feels like we can't really get ahead and that we're sort of just spinning our wheels in the current environment.
And waiting for the market to drop as the frenzied bidding wars fade, why some potential home buyers are still worried.
This is CBC Vancouver News.
Good evening and thanks for joining us. I'm Anita Bathe. No evidence of political corruption and no effect on real estate prices. That's just two of the findings from a new report into BC's money laundering problem. As the CBC's Renee Filipponi explains, the 1,800-page document contains more than 100 recommendations on how to stop the flow of dirty money in our province.
Plastic bags hauled into BC casinos filled with stacks of $20 bills. It's one of the ways huge amounts of money have been laundered by criminal organizations cleaning their profits in the province. Now, a report years in the making says for too long the issue has been on the sideline.
It allows criminals and bad actors to exploit the very things that we value.
It's unclear how much is being laundered in BC, but it's likely in the billions. The report lays blame on the federal government agency responsible for preventing money laundering.
FINTRAC doesn't appear to be effective in getting information back to the province's law enforcement.
The report also found members of the previous government under Liberal Premier Christy Clark were warned it was happening but didn't do enough to stop it. But there was no corruption. Along with casinos, criminals exploited real estate, snapping up high-end properties to sanitize their dirty cash. But the report says it's not the cause of sky-high housing prices. The report has 101 recommendations. Appoint a provincial money laundering commissioner, take a more vigorous approach to asset seizures, and introduce unexplained wealth orders, which would force people to prove where large sums of money came from.
I'm excited about the potential of these new recommendations to help us attack gang crime, the illicit toxic drug trade, human trafficking.
The federal government is reviewing the reports.
We are going to do, and we're doing everything we can to combat that.
This is a national problem. And if I were speaking in Ontario, I would be highlighting the environmental factors that give rise to Ontario or Toronto being susceptible to organized crime penetration, just like Vancouver.
A number of other agencies flagged in this report, including the RCMP, the BC Lottery Corporation, and the BC Gaming Industry Association, are not commenting right now, saying they did not receive the report before its public release and need time to read and review the findings. Renee Filipponi, CBC News, Vancouver.
And coming up later in the show, we'll speak with former CBC investigative reporter Eric Rankin. He spent years looking into that dirty money, and he'll give us his reaction to that report. Okay, moving to the Okanagan now, where the search is on for a Kelowna woman believed to have been swept away by floodwaters yesterday. Tom Popick spoke to family desperately looking for her on the banks of a dangerous river.
Kelowna's Mission Creek is still running high and fast.
We just hope to find her.
Tanya Rudolph is hiking the shore looking for any sign of her cousin Chelsea Cardno.
Between all of her friends up and down the Greenway and our family members that have been able to get here already and the search and rescue, we've got as many out as we possibly can.
The 31-year-old was last seen at 8 a.m. Tuesday morning. She was reported missing after she didn't turn up for work. Her car was found late afternoon near Mission Creek. She often walked her dog, JJ, along the popular urban creek. It turned into a torrent after more than 65 millimeters of rain poured into the waterway, flooding homes downstream. As residents sandbagged and assessed property damage, search and rescue crews began a methodical search for Chelsea Cardno, walking the swollen banks of the creek and waiting for the waters to recede.
Because of the way the river is running, some areas may have disappeared, so some eddies, some catchment areas. So we're reconfirming that they're there to research them again. Central Okanagan Search and Rescue resumed the search this afternoon after consulting with RCMP. Anything is possible, so we're just going to keep searching and see what we can find. she could be anywhere. But we need to cover off all our bases.
COSAR is bringing in RCMP drones and positioning boats at the creek's outflow. Their ground, water, and air search will continue until dusk and then resume in the morning.
You just have to have hope that it's a positive outcome, but the longer it goes, the harder it is.
The RCMP are asking for the public's help, but not to search. The banks of this stream are still very unstable and dangerous. But police are still treating this as a missing persons case, so they're asking anyone who may have seen Chelsea yesterday or today to call police. Tom Popick, CBC News, Kelowna.
Let's bring in meteorologist Johanna Wagstaffe, who is keeping a close eye on the rain now. What are you watching, Joe?
Anita, the risk for isolated thunderstorms still possible for the BC interior, Okanagan included. And here on the West Coast, we're seeing showers move into our forecast zone as well. And that's thanks to basically two systems sandwiching us here in BC. Let me show you what this looks like in the satellite and radar. You can see we've got a swirling low off the West Coast, and that is pushing inland. We saw the increasing clouds today across the South Coast and showers crossing the strait as well. Meanwhile, that swirling low over in Alberta continuing to bring heavy rounds of rain to southern Alberta, easing though through this evening. As that one tracks eastward, watch that swirling low off our coast. That's spinning up bands of rain through the interior. Nothing like what we saw 2 days ago, but still looking at the rest for 20 to 40 millimeters through Thursday before beginning to ease as this pushes north and eastward into Friday. So as far as new rainfall totals, again, check out the system tracking in from the west to the east. Those darker greens, that's the 10 to 40 millimeter bullseye. So really seeing most of it in through central BC up towards Prince George down through Williams Lake Peace region. That's where we might end up topping 40 to 60 millimeters. But yes, definitely a slice of moisture that will impact already high water levels. So that is a bit of a concern as we head into the forecast. Seeing temperatures come down as well with that thundery and wet weather. 14 through Williams Lake tomorrow, just an 18 in through Kelowna, catching a bit of sun out towards Cranbrook, but unsettled is definitely the name of the game. Unsettled for us, but we've definitely got more sunshine than not. 18 tomorrow in through Vancouver, back up to 19 by the time we hit the weekend. And I told you the weekend was unsettled, Anita. So far, it's trending more sunny than our earlier forecast models. Look for a stray shower on Saturday, maybe on Sunday, but right now it's seasonal and sunny for the South Coast and for most of BC, and we will certainly need a break by the time we hit the weekend.
No kidding. Thanks, Joe. A Vancouver man who stabbed a Mexican tourist at a Tim Hortons coffee shop earlier this year has received a 3-year prison sentence. 28-year-old David Morin pleaded guilty yesterday to aggravated assault. In late January, he approached a man inside the Tim Hortons at Harbour Centre and stabbed him in the back. The 25-year-old victim was rushed to hospital with life-threatening injuries. Morin fled the scene, and police say he was arrested after video of the attack was released. It was another day in court for a young BC actor guilty of killing his mother. Today, Ryan Grantham, who acted in the show Riverdale, spoke about his victim, calling her a caring and compassionate person who did not deserve to be murdered by him. Karen Larson heard his emotional plea.
Ryan Grantham delivered his statement in court in a clear and emotion-filled voice, saying, quote, "I cannot explain my actions. In the face of something so horrible, saying sorry seems pointless." The young actor was just 21 when he shot his mother, Barbara Waite, in the back of the head as she played piano in their Squamish townhouse 2 years ago. The next day, he packed his car with guns, ammunition, Molotov cocktails, and a map to Rideau Cottage in Ottawa, where he planned to drive to kill Prime Minister Justin Trudeau. Grantham's defense said he was mentally ill at the time of the killing and should receive consideration for turning himself in, fully confessing, and pleading guilty. Second-degree murder comes with an automatic life sentence. At issue is how long he has to wait to be eligible to apply for parole. Crown is asking for 17 to 18 years. The defense is asking for 12 years. Madam Justice Kathleen Kerr has reserved her decision. Karen Larson, CBC News, Vancouver.
Let's Let's take a look now at affordability in this province. Rising interest rates are already tempering the housing market. In May, residential home sales in Greater Vancouver dropped nearly 10% from April and almost 32% from May the year before. Anita Bathe is speaking with a family in Kelowna, hoping to crack into the market.
All signs point to a housing slowdown. But even as the days of frenzied bidding wars fade, buyers are still worried.
Disheartening is probably the best way to say. It feels like we can't really get ahead and that we're sort of just spinning our wheels in the current environment.
Wesley Favreau has been renting in Kelowna since 2020. While he and his partner wanted to buy a home to grow their family, soaring prices during the pandemic kept them from buying. Now it's rising interest rates.
It's significantly above our buying power now. So, even though we have good income, we don't have the ability to match the rising interest rates.
As mortgages get more expensive, demand has plummeted. Sales are down 9% in May compared to April, and down 22% compared to the same time last year.
I don't believe anything's really going to ride to the rescue for the market in the months ahead. It looks like interest rates are pretty much on a one-way trip north here.
Toronto realtor Didar Gadahorde says sellers are also feeling the pressure as their mortgages come up for renewal.
They'll have to cut their expenses elsewhere. That also is not going to be difficult nowadays in these days of inflation. The gas prices are up, everything is up. People who are, who have reached the tipping point, they say, yeah, I can't do it.
As sales slide, prices tend to follow, and experts say some markets will correct more than others. Cities in southern Ontario are seeing bigger drops compared to cities such as Calgary and Saskatoon.
Buyers are expecting a 20% correction, and the sellers are still not there. So the sellers are taking time to come to that price, and it'll take some time.
Buyers like Favreau hope prices will reset, enough to allow them to jump into the market.
Our roots are here, our friends are here, we want to be contributors to the economy here, but it feels like we can't stay.
For now, finding a home that's affordable still feels out of reach. Nisha Patel, CBC News, Toronto.
Wait times are now available online for passport offices in the province. According to the news site, today people in Surrey were waiting for more than 4 hours, while in Kelowna, potential travelers queued for less than 2 hours. Officials have been struggling to keep up with the surge of demand since COVID-19 border measures were relaxed. Recently, Service Canada hired 600 new employees to help tackle the backlog. Well, it's been stuck so long, it might be starting to fade into the background. 4 months after plans were announced to remove the infamous barge from the seawall near English Bay, nothing has been done. As John Hernandez reports, frustrations are mounting as it seems the unintentional landmark will be sticking around all summer.
7 months since it washed ashore, this beached behemoth still draws plenty of eyeballs and laughs.
One day, the ocean just got angry and decided that it doesn't want this barge anymore. It was like, you guys take it back. And now it's here, we can't do anything about it.
Enthusiasm that's waning for some as plans to break apart the English Bay barge drag on.
It's definitely shocking. I don't think anyone thought that it would be here as long as it has been.
I'm thinking it's about time they got it moved or taken down. It was kind of exciting at the beginning when it showed up.
It's really blocking the view.
It started kind of funny, and now it's annoying. And embarrassing, quite frankly.
Deconstruction plans were announced in February, but there's been zero movement aside from a few signs tacked onto its side.
See that sign on it that says like active salvage operation in progress? But I walk by this thing a lot and I've never seen anybody actively salvaging this barge.
Transport Canada says the owner, Century Marine Towing, hasn't been fined, but it is on the hook for paying to get it removed. That process has been bogged down by planning and permitting delays at both the federal and municipal levels.
Well, it's certainly unfortunate that the barge has been there as long as it has. However, it's not terribly unusual that these sort of things can take a long time to resolve.
Delays that provincial officials say they have little influence over.
To have a federal agency who's tasked with making sure these things are cleaned up, to not be able to force the owner to actually do that, it makes no sense to me, and doesn't give me a lot of confidence, quite frankly, in what would happen if there was a major oil spill, for example.
All while the city pays for round-the-clock security, costs that experts say it will likely look to recover.
And the city could make a claim against the owners, and they could also make a claim against the insurers directly.
As for how it could be removed, one local graphic artist shared their fantasy. A far cry from reality, but a lot quicker than the eventual plan. If and when the real deconstruction work begins, it will take at least 3 months. John Hernandez, CBC News, Vancouver.
The United States FDA has given the okay for both the Moderna and Pfizer COVID vaccines for kids under 5. How soon shots could be going into arms next. Thanks for watching our commercial-free live stream. Well, many hockey fans in Nova Scotia are cheering louder for one American team in the Stanley Cup final. One of their own, Nathan Mckinnon from Cole Harbour, is a forward with the Colorado Avalanche. The team is taking on the reigning champions, the Tampa Bay Lightning, in Denver.
Mckinnon on it. He's on his horse, powering through the speed burst. One stick handling. Oh my goodness, what a goal!
It's been a long time coming, but Nathan Mckinnon has finally made it to the Stanley Cup final. Mckinnon has easily been his team's top forward and now is just 4 wins away from his first Stanley Cup.
He's always been able to rise to the occasion, I think, in these big moments and special moments, and that's what we're all hoping and pulling for that can happen here in the NHL final.
John Greenwood coached Mckinnon for 2 years in minor hockey. He knew he had a star player and had a hunch he was going to go on to great things.
We knew we had a special athlete in our hands, even at a young age. Not just the skating athleticism, but the competitiveness and drive was there from an early age. McKinnon circling the net, bouncing puck, he scores!
Mckinnon had a 5-point game to lead the Halifax Mooseheads to their only Memorial Cup championship in 2013 and was the NHL's top draft pick 2 months later. But unlike Sidney Crosby, the other kid from Cole Harbour took a while to blossom into the superstar he is now. Injuries and early playoff exits are now behind him as he continues to set the bar high for aspiring young Nova Scotia players.
For a long time, there weren't a lot of players coming out of, Atlantic Canada and Nova Scotia who are going to that level. But now you could argue that, there's 3 of the top 10 players in the world from here. So I think it's just, kids are able to relate to that.
Mckinnon is hoping to bring the cup back to Cole Harbour just like his good friend Sidney Crosby, who showed off hockey's holy grail in 3 cup parades through the community. Now in his 9th season, Mckinnon and the Avalanche have beaten Nashville, St. Louis, and Edmonton, and now face the defending Stanley Cup champion Tampa Bay Lightning.
And I think it is the 2 best teams in the NHL. Leafs fans might not want to hear that, but I think we have the best 2 teams in the NHL meeting in the final, so it's going to be great hockey. I'm biased. I hope Colorado can get it done, but I think either way we're in for really exciting hockey.
Game 1 is tonight on CBC. Paul Palmater, CBC News, Cole Harbour.
Returning now to our top story, a sweeping report into BC's money laundering problem concludes there was no corruption on the part of former BC Liberals, including Premier Christy Clark and former Gaming Minister Rich Coleman, though they knew there were problems.
Sophisticated money launderers have used British Columbia as a clearinghouse or a terminus for laundering an astounding amount of dirty money.
The report, authored by Supreme Court Justice Austin Cullen, includes 101 recommendations on how to combat money laundering in casinos, but also housing and luxury car markets, including a more vigorous approach to asset seizure and breaking away from Canada's FinTrack agency. Joining me now is former CBC reporter and someone extremely familiar with this file, Eric Rankin. Thanks for being with us.
You're welcome, Anita.
Eric, you've done dozens of stories on money laundering. You spent hours looking into all of this in BC. The report found no evidence of political corruption, but some have already pointed out today they're shocked by that. What was your reaction to reading that piece?
Well, I think in some ways the former Liberal government really, dodged the bullet. In some ways they didn't. Any kind of, corruption allegation would have probably required, massive forensic audits, and there was no indication that should be pursued. But still, when you look at the wording of the report in terms of what they called, the repeated failures of the government to deal with this, the former BC Liberal government, a lack of coordination, an ineffective response, inadequate response, missed opportunities. They just obviously did not meet the challenge of this, and for whatever reason, were turning a blind eye to it or inadequately dealing with it as it became more and more apparent over the years that there was a massive problem, especially growing inside BC casinos at that point.
Is there something that has a particular resonance for you when it comes to dirty money and the recommendations that were made today?
Well, our reports are actually mentioned a few times in the Cullen report, which is nice to get that kind of acknowledgement. The one thing that really stood out for me, and it was referenced, was in 2011 we reported again, because we had reported several times starting in 2004, 2008, there were growing problems. We looked into reports that we got, FOIs that we got back, Freedom of Information reports that showed massive flows of suspicious and large cash transactions going through casinos. We took that to the officer in charge of the RCMP's Proceeds of Crime Unit, Inspector Barry Baxter, and he said, yeah, you're right. The average person looking at these figures would say, this stinks. It's, it looks like money laundering. It's dirty money. And we reported on that, and the minister in charge of gaming at the time, Rich Coleman, shot that down. He said that I didn't know what I was talking about when I did the report. He also said that that Baxter was offside and that his bosses didn't agree with him and he didn't agree with them. And we know that the RCMP bosses, in effect, had given approval for Inspector Baxter to give us that interview and to talk about his concerns. This is 2011, about money laundering. So it was interesting to see that was mentioned.
Given all of that, just really quickly here, does the report bring any closure?
Well, it's been a long time coming. We reported for so long about this. I could never understand why more action wasn't taken. So I'm just glad that in the past couple of years, things have tightened up, and maybe BC now with the Cullen report will no longer be such a hot spot for money laundering.
Former CBC reporter Eric Rankin, thank you for your time. Advisors to the Food and Drug Administration in the U.S. have authorized 2 COVID-19 vaccines for kids aged 6 months to 5 years. Young children are the only group that has remained ineligible for immunization during the pandemic. The Moderna and the Pfizer vaccines have been given unanimous approval. If the FDA and the Centers for Disease Control agree, the vaccines could be available as soon as next week. Health Canada is also reviewing Moderna's COVID-19 vaccine for younger children. So far, Pfizer has not submitted an application for that age group. There's no word yet when a decision will be made in Canada.
Let's go down to Natalie now and see if we can get any more from Georgia Street. Natalie?
Well, Tony, I know you and I had hoped to be covering a party, but I've got some breaking news. We have confirmed that that one person has fallen off the Dunsmuir Viaduct. BC Ambulance trying to get near them. We're also hearing that police are saying it's not safe for fire and ambulance crews to be in the downtown core. We're hearing that the friendly police officers in the yellow vests are soon going to be replaced with the riot squad, trying to clear the city, clear the streets of people who have been clearly misbehaving tonight. Now, we do have some shots of that fire earlier. We're going to take you close up as our crews were closer on the ground. You can see the people fueling the fire, and we understand since that fire was put out, there's a fight going on now. A small group in the middle and not under control right now, but they've been fighting since. So there's clearly a group of troublemakers in front of the Canada Post building who started this fire and ignited a bit of trouble on the streets tonight. We also have, we're going to take you to a live shot just to see, I know our shot's a bit further, but we do believe there's a fight going on in the middle where that car was. I understand, oh, now they're turning over the burned car. This was a silver Prius. I hope you didn't have a silver Prius tonight, Tony, because it's turned upside down and burned. This is where police are, and we are hearing that a different contingent of police is going to be moving in. You see to the lower of the screen, look at the lower of the screen, you see about a dozen, 2 dozen police officers. Look for the guys in the yellow vest. They're, I think, calculating their next move as they move in. Now people are dancing around the burned and overturned car and around it looks like another vehicle. Yeah, we've got 2 vehicles upside down, one up to the further of the screen, and just below the screen, south, you don't see there is a huge contingent of police officers. No telling what they're going to do next, but we have fans who have had tension building for weeks, and clearly that tension is boiling over in the streets. I have to tell you, more breaking news just up the street. I don't have a clean shot of it, but we have confirmed that other fans have broken the glass at the BMO building, the Bank of Montreal building, and a similar scene unfolding there. But take a look at this shot now. People do seem to be moving as they see the police officers come. Throwing a box. This is the scene in downtown Vancouver tonight, just across from the CBC, across from behind you in your studio. We are waiting to see if what police are going to do. We know they are trying to clear the streets, and they are trying to stop this mayhem from unfolding, but clearly fans are frustrated. They're angry. They were supposed to be partying tonight, and we're trying to get an update on the person who has fallen off the Dunsmuir Viaduct that I mentioned earlier. But this is the scene on Georgia Street at Hamilton as a crowd builds there, and the fire is out. The fire truck moved out of the way, and there is a lot of police. And so, Tony, I'm going to throw it back to you and try to get you some more information on what's happening right now.
All right, Natalie, thanks very much. There's only a small knot of people left there, and there are a lot of observers on the side, so there are people watching, so don't count them in that crowd of troublemakers.
Hi, I'm Anita Bathe, and here's what's in your CBC Vancouver inbox.
CBC Vancouver is a proud returning media partner of the Talking Stick Festival, June 12th to July 3rd. Enjoy and explore Indigenous culture through art, dance, theatre, film, and more. Get tickets at fullcircle.ca and celebrate summer with Corleone at Pop Capella on June 25th. Come and enjoy high-impact harmonies and your favorite hits by pop legends. Learn more at corleone.org.
Some tense moments for a driver making their way out of Yellowstone National Park recently.
Whoa.
Dashcam footage caught the moment falling rocks hit the vehicle ahead. Now, this happened on Sunday as visitors were leaving the park's north entrance. Record flooding and multiple rock slides like this one have prompted park officials to shut down all 5 entrances to Yellowstone. The hazardous conditions have forced more than 10,000 visitors out of a massive park that straddles part of Wyoming, Montana, and Idaho. Well, a Surrey-based poet is the Canadian winner of the 2022 Griffin Poetry Prize. Tolu Olurantoba took home the $65,000 prize for his collection, The Junta of Happenstance. The Nigerian Canadian's work is an exploration, family dynamics, social injustice, and the immigrant experience. The Griffin is one of the richest poetry awards in the world. Congratulations. That's wonderful. That is it for our show tonight. You can always find us online, cbc.ca/BC. We're also on Facebook, YouTube, and CBC Gem. We'll be back here tomorrow. Have a good night.